Great googly mooglies. It's Monday morning again. Fun day this week. Yes, indeed. Fun day every day. So, this is Jonathan Albin, Game Master Soapbox, and we are talking about one of my favorite subjects. We're going to talk about the shopping spree. Now, if you are a game master with any uh, time behind the shield, you know that players dearly love to spend time and spend their money in purchasing items inside of your game. So, this is usually a good thing. Now, we're going to be talking about a lot of different topics, but I do want to start off with a bit of my own personal opinion. So, when a group wants to go shopping, it's great. When an individual wants to go shopping when nobody else does, it is a pain. The challenge that is placed before you as a game master is you want your players to feel the reality of the world they live in. You want to deal with the um, drama and perhaps excitement of what goes on in their daily lives. But a shopping spree can be a horrible buzzkill in terms of the action of a scene. If, for example, you have determined that the bad guy in a particular community is about to make an action and that the players should be doing what they can to stop that villain, the idea that somebody says, well, I need to go to the store and get this, and this, that throws off the timing, throws off the feel of it. Also, it indicates that they're not really paying attention to the intensity of the scene, which means you may have bigger problems than you perhaps realize. And I have found that the real element of the shopping spree, the idea of spending their hard earned and hard won loot, needs to be done in a kind of a regulated fashion. So we're going to be talking today about the ways in which you can adjust the shopping spree to make it more useful in terms of the game that you're playing, while at the same time scratching that itch that the players are going to have to want to amplify their belongings and expand the quote realism of their characters' life within your game. All right. So before we get to that, I want to thank you for being here. And if you like what you're seeing so far, uh, like this on YouTube, follow us. Additionally, subscribe. The subscriptions really help us, and in the case of here on Twitch, it also helps you because it removes the commercials from your viewing, so therefore you're not interrupted while watching one of our shows. You can pick up the entire episode without hitting any of those dreaded commercials. All right, so when we talk about a shopping spree, going into the local market, whatever that happens to be, perhaps it's a bazaar, perhaps it's a local trade center like a shopping, like a general store or whatever. This provides some opportunities for some serious role play. I mean, the interaction between the grocery store and you, no matter how much you like or dislike it, happens when you are interchanging with that clerk. And in a minor case, it happens with us every day in our real life. So, of course, naturally, it's going to happen in a games environment. But the real role play values are added when the players actually utilize their skills while in the shopping mode. So, for example, if they are going to look for particular items of precious value, allow them to suggest that they look into using their appraisal skills. Or if they are looking for a particular weapon, perhaps you want to give them the options to study those, to look at them and determine relative value between them. We do it naturally, inherently, when we go shopping. When we go into the market, perhaps we pick up the watermelon and thump the end, or whatever methods we've been taught in determining value of the items we're going to buy. The same thing would apply when they go into role play. An additional roleplay value occurs when you have interaction with somebody who is in a trades position but might have information beyond that. For example, the blacksmith might have information about the activities of, say, horsemen in the area, talking about the increased activity around the stables and such. And so these role play elements definitely play into it, so they can be incorporated if the shopping spree, if the shopping trip is meant and treated as a role play encounter. Some people just simply hand wave and say, yeah, you've gone and bought this item or that item. But to me, that deprives you of a bunch of different options, and most importantly, it gets rid of the opportunity to incorporate the local populace in the story. If you, for example, get to know that the store owner has a daughter named Jenny, and Jenny is always around and whatever, when something happens bad and children are missing, all of a sudden you have somebody who your players might be interested in protecting and whatever, and so you're able to incorporate the community sales apparatus with the role play environment, and thereby provide a stronger connection between your players and the story you're telling. Additionally, some players just love to go shopping. I can't tell you how funny it is. I've got 2 or 3 folks in one of my games groups at the game store that fundamentally go shopping every other week in the game. They find a way to be down in the marketplace and whatever, and it makes sense for their persona to be as interested in that as well. But it also means that they are becoming specialized in certain items of certain skills that you wouldn't think as being, particularly utilitarian for an adventurer. But nonetheless, they pick up skills in foreign languages, because there's 1 or 2 foreigners that travel through the area. They're picking up information on the activities of military units in the area, which allows them to become more useful in their roles as scouts and so on. So the prayer predilection to like shopping can itself be a element of utility. But the reason why I referred to it as a rant earlier is that it can be just so frustrating when only one does this. So make sure that you're finding a way to provide the players with value when they go shopping. Additionally, it can be a real education in local economics. In other words, if something that is relatively common all of a sudden has a higher price, why did that price change? Why did the NPC even bring that item to sell if it was going to be so much more precious? And these kind of conversations lead to understanding of maybe what's going on that's dynamically changing the game's environment, and therefore the players have perhaps insight into what might be happening. Of course, there's the obvious things like the players' resource management and keeping track of how much ammunition they have, how many light sources they have, or whatever. But beyond that, dealing with a marketplace can also be just plain fun. I'm a big fan of utilizing micromanaged magics. What I mean by that is trinkets, small items that have some bearing on the mechanics of a scene, and so that the players can therefore, like for example, the idea of a wind-up noisemaker. I've had a dozen different times when players have used their noisemaker that they picked up intentionally for use in their own pathway. So perhaps they were looking at building families and that kind of thing, and so therefore they're buying these different items for specific uses and then finding alternative uses for them, and that's always fun. And by doing this in a playful environment, you provide the opportunity for practicing practical haggling skills. Now, you may not have any awareness of this, but there are ways and times in our modern economy to actually consider haggling mechanisms. Some of the most obvious ones aren't as convincing as they used to be. It used to be, for example, used car salesmen were a terrifying thing because they were pretty good at convincing people to make decisions that were arguably not as well suited to them as possible. But the idea here is that you develop the practical skills of knowing when to say no and knowing when to add a change in the dynamic of your trade or whatever. So with all of those elements, you actually create a practical haggling skill, learning how therefore to hold your line when somebody wants to upsell you, and things like this are things that a player in the modern world can actually find useful outside of the game session. So the idea here is that the shopping spree, the concept of going and buying stuff for the game in game from the vendors in the local community, provides some role play value, some ways to incorporate the story more deeply with your players, feed into the player predilection if that's a thing, and also to educate and inform. And that's really what role play games are all about, is more than just sitting and playing a game. You are developing skills in terms of socialization and interactions with, imagine that, other human beings. Alrighty, I've got done in pretty record time. This is going to be one of my shortest episodes of this week. Do recall that we're going to have some major news tomorrow in Nycos News Day. There's going to be a lot of interesting information going on there, and we are on the brink of the release of the Master Book pre-release edition. So watch out for all of that in the next coming week, and I will see you. Remember, we're here at 10 o'clock in the morning and 11 p.m. Monday through Friday, and we will see you next time. I'm Jonathan Alvin, and I've approved this message.